Welcome to the Close to Home podcast. Real people, real life, real stories. Insight and inspiration from Close to Home brings a fresh perspective on home, business, and life. Join the professionals across real estate, construction, insurance, and financial lending to gain perspective not only from their individual professional experience, but also from their life stories. Well, good morning, gang.
Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Dan.
How are you, Jim?
Not too bad. Nice shower, fresh drawers, clean socks.
Nice, I like
Top
it.
of the world.
That's the first time I've heard that from you in a long time.
It's the first time it's happened in a long time.
Shower once a week. Well, good morning, Jaclyn.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing well.
You look great this morning.
Oh, thanks.
She's
Well,
had a great week.
Yeah.
It's been a good week.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you had a good time on vacation and welcome back.
Oh, thanks.
So,
Little work vacation.
yeah, still a vacation. Ashley, how are you?
I'm doing great. Everything's really going well.
You guys got a bunch of crews hopping around here.
We do. And that kind of brings us into some of today's topics because we've been exploring some of these real estate purchases and land and
Really?
all of that. And you're kind of that expert. And I've learned a lot in the last, I would say, 2 weeks from you, but I think that
There's a lot
there's
more to
even
learn.
more to learn.
Yeah, I'm still learning every day.
Let's see if we can stump him.
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. So what is today's topic? Are we going with buying and selling farmland 101?
Yes.
Awesome. So questions.
Yeah. My question would be, if I am an individual that wants to get out of a subdivision
Okay.
and I have, let's just call it decent equity, but not a whole lot of equity, and I want to buy land, what are some of those preliminary questions that you might ask somebody to know if they're ready to make that jump from that first starter home to say, I want to buy land and then build a home and then have space for my kids to grow up, blah, blah, blah.
Sure. Okay. So I'm gonna say that is probably not farmland. I would call that just raw ground. If you're wanting to build a house, there's a difference between farms and just ground. So if we're going to go with just ground, the first thing that I'm going to ask is location, location, location. Where do you want to be? That's the most important thing in real estate. The next thing I'm going to ask is, what do you want to use it for? So if you want to get out of the subdivision and build a house, is 10 acres enough? Is 20 acres enough? Do you want 100 acres? Do you really want to stretch out and join that 1,000-acre club that not very many people are in?
How do people, so for somebody that's on a lot, they're going to feel like 3 acres is a lot
Sure.
for the first 5 years.
Sure.
And then they're going to say, oh, I want my neighbor's land.
Yeah.
So how do you guide somebody through that?
So
Big sigh.
yeah, there's a game I like to call or play called 20 Questions. So really all I'm going to do is find out exactly where it is that individual wants to go, and we're going to figure out the best way to get there. So in your case, if this individual is moving out of a subdivision and they want to get onto a 3-acre lot in a development, because that's probably what it's going to be, a little bit bigger lot would be in the 3 acres as opposed to, a 1/4 acre typical subdivision in suburbia. So the first thing I'm going to probably figure out is, hey, have you called Jim? You need to call him and make sure that we can afford to do this. So call, I'm just saying Jim because he's sitting right here, but if you're in California, you're not going to be calling Jim. You're going to be calling your local lender probably.
You can still call Jim in
it's called
California.
Oh, can you? Awesome. Well, I didn't realize that. You can't call Dan in California because he doesn't sell there. But I would say make sure you got your financing in line. And then from that point in time, let's just go look at it. Kind of what do you want to do? Most people probably want to have, a modestly sized home with an outbuilding. So we're going to make sure we'll check and make sure that there's no deed restrictions against outbuildings and kind of figure out, hey, can we do what we want to do on this piece of ground because we like it? If we can, cool. Let's move forward with the purchase. If we can't, let's keep on with the search.
So if you're moving from suburbia into, I guess for me, I went the other way. I moved from 6 acres two, like a 3/4 acre lot. I'm not even sure how big it is, but the point is love my neighbors. They're the reason I'm still there, I would say, but it's coming. Is 3 acres enough? Probably not. Do I need 100? Probably. But the point is I think I would be more apt to go for, at least 5 acres or more. It starts to get tricky. How's availability for some of that?
Inventory on everything is down right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully the tide is starting to turn and swing a little bit, but we're in a really weird place in this market right now because inventory's down, rates are up, prices are stabilizing, but they're still up from.
What about raw land, Dan? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. Raw land is, they're not making any more dirt. I wish they were. But what's available in the market today is still extremely tight. There's low inventory on everything in the real estate market.
Do we push west or do we kind of wait for some of the retirees to move on?
Oh, no, go west, young man.
All right, not me in particular. Other people maybe. I know we'd like to push me west.
But what about the farmer? So you might have, on the flip side, you might have a client that is looking for more farmland, as you said. So you have two scenarios. So how does the conversation change when it's somebody just strictly looking for land?
So if it's somebody that's just strictly looking for land, the first thing I'm going to ask is, hey, what's your purpose? If you're a farmer, a producer, then your criteria is going to be vastly different than somebody who's an investor and doing 1031 exchanges. The vast majority of farmers, producers, I'll call them, they do not own the land. A lot of them lease the majority of their ground. The majority of land is not owned by the farmer. So there's different vessels to get a return for your investor. The most common one around here is a cash rent. There's still some guys that are doing share crop, but by and large, it's a cash rent. You're guaranteed a return. There's very little risk on both sides. The farmer knows exactly what he's paying you, and you know exactly what you're getting.
So with that, it often offsets perhaps your living expense because
it could, yeah. Ideally, yeah. You should be making enough money on the cash rent to at least pay the bill on the ground.
Gotcha.
And what if we don't have a farmer to farm the land?
Go find one.
Yeah.
So in different areas.
Let's put out an ad for
Let's
a
just
farmer.
have that short and sweet. Man.
just put it up on Indeed.
So talk to your neighbors. See who's, go around and you can tell who's taking care of ground. If you drive down the road and you see just ruts all over the place in the middle of a field and ditches that are washing out and, waterways that need to be repaired, you probably don't want that tenant. It's very similar to renting a residential real estate. You're a home, an apartment, whatever. You want somebody who's going to take care of your ground because that's yours. You're counting on that to appreciate and be worth more than what you bought it for. Well, they got to take care of it. So drive around, figure out, who's taking care of the good looking stuff, and just go up and if there's a door there, knock on it. Say, hey, who farms your ground? Oh, Farmer Bob farms it. Oh, okay. Can I get his number? I just bought a piece of ground down here, and there's an open tenancy on it for next year. Most of the time, they're not going to hold that farmer's name. If he's doing a good job, they're going to tell you. And just talk to him. Say, hey, how do you like this guy or this gal? Are they doing a good job? Are they paying rent on time? Looks like they're taking care of your farm.
So this is just as much of a real estate rental transaction as a home.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
just a larger, more zeros.
Larger scale, yeah. Operations.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into owning a farm, and if you're in it for a return, you need to make sure that you're getting that return and that you're getting a good tenant.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty big deal.
So being that you're the expert in farmland, really who you're seeing purchase most of the land that's available are investors.
Yeah.
They're not farmers.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And how does somebody get into that? Like just have money? Just
How do I do that, Dan?
Yeah, Ashley would like to own tomatoes.
You want to be a tomato farmer?
No, I want to be the investor.
Okay.
And I want to watch the cows in the field and the corn in the field and all of that and not actually have to do the work.
I don't want to do any work. So if we can,
the truth comes out.
that would be ideal. Yeah. I'd love to watch corn grow every day.
Yeah.
So what I would do is we would probably sit down and figure out, hey, financially, what can you afford? Because right off the bat, you're probably looking to buy 40 acres instead of 400. So let's just say that you've lived in your house for 10 years. You bought it in 2013. It's now 2023. You've probably got some equity in your house as long as you've been paying your bills and you haven't refinanced here recently and done a cash out.
Right.
So what you can do is either do a refinance and pull cash out, or you could do a home equity line of credit and use some of the equity that's in your house in order to offset your down payment. So if you've got, let's say that 40 acres is going to cost $10,000 an acre, just for easy math. So it's $400,000. You're going to probably need to have 20% down. So that would be what, $80,000, right? So, of $80,000, do you have that in equity in your house? There's a chance you might. So you can use that as your down payment, or you could pull money out of the stock market, out of savings accounts, out of your other investment accounts that are holding paper, and then you can move that over and hold dirt. If you're doing it for and I have to kind of preface this and say that I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a CPA, so, and I'm not an attorney, so don't take any. I did stay at Holiday Inn Express though, so there's my disclaimer. So make sure that if you want to own ground, whoever's taking care of your finances, make sure that you guys are on the same page. You say, hey, look, I want to own some stocks. I want to own some ground. I want to be getting some dividends. I want to, here's what my financial goals are.
Just diversify a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a couple of questions came to mind on the financing. Like that's not traditional. Land financing is not traditional. So where, and maybe that's a Jim question.
So it can be. Most farms can be bought just the same as, if they've got a house and
but if they don't,
your land, and you can do normal financing. When you get into production farms, as he was talking about earlier, Dan, you want to double check that, because now we might need agricultural. And that's a little bit different. You're going to need a little bit more down, and you're going to need a little bit more information for those types of things. Now, I would do my research and find out, but we went from spreading out a little bit and getting out of suburbia to possibly tinkering around in the farming and whatnot, and it all varies. But most of the homes that are on acreage, they'll levy a certain percentage, most of it, to the home, and maybe 10 acres. And then the rest of the land would be, looked at a little bit differently depending on the program that you're going to use to do your financing. But here's the good news. You can get in for regular dollars just as you would a regular home. However, when you get into the production part and you want to use that as part of your income, you're going to need a little bit of paperwork from the previous owner and then
track record.
Exactly.
Yeah. And a lot of the farms, you're going to get that information if there's tillable production ground on it. You're going to get that from the FSA office, which is a farm service agency. So, and you don't even need to have tillable production to get an FSA number. Like my farm, I have timber on it. We don't have any tillable stuff on there. It's just recreational piece. So, you're still going to go to that farm service agency. They kind of cover all that, and you're going to find out, okay, so how many tillable acres are here? What was the return, or what was the yield? And then you can use that as some of your paperwork, like Jim was saying.
So that's where you'll find out, like, if this land is best for whatever kind of farming or whatever kind of production, or
yeah, I mean, generally speaking, in our area here in Northeast Missouri and Western Illinois, Southern Iowa, what you're going to find is corn and beans as your summertime crop, and then you get a cover crop of wheat or rye as your winter crop.
okay.
So that's generally what you're going to find there. Every once in a while, there's some milo that's grown too, sorghum, but by and large, just corn, beans, and wheat.
And you'll know, like, if a certain area has produced better than another, that's the yield, and that's where
So that's where the FSA numbers come in.
Okay.
But yeah, generally, and we're going to be able to find that out before we even step foot on the ground. We don't need to. We don't need that, because what I'll do is if we're looking at a piece of ground, I'm gonna get on AgriData and pull all the soil, do the web soil surveys.
okay.
And that'll tell me, hey, this has got, most of what's around here is silt loam. If you get down to the bottoms, you're going to have some of that more flat black stuff. But by and large, those web soil surveys are going to tell me is what type of soil it is. It's going to tell me what class it is, and lower the better. So one's the best, two all the way up to 7 being a rock, basically.
My property. Definitely my property would be a 7.
Yours would probably be more of a 4 or 5, I bet.
Really?
Yeah. 7 is like a rock.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just don't dig more than 6 inches down on my property then.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Well, you guys live right outside of Corey, so
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
So not to switch gears, but with all this that came up as well, and then you mentioned it with your personal property, I know hunting is a big thing with land, and you can rent land for hunting, correct? Is that something that you do as well, or?
So, yes, I hunt on my ground. I do not lease my ground to hunt to other guys, and I do not broker any sort of hunting lease deals. I had thought about jumping into that, but the logistics and the insurance cost was pretty high. And I think that I talked to you about that. So yeah, the cost of insurance was kind of prohibitive for what we were able to get done. So
Okay.
we just decided to stick to sales.
But in terms of helping other people that are looking to get into that, not an area
I can
of
help. Yeah. I mean,
expertise?
I can point them to the right direction. Yeah.
Okay.
I know several guys who do the leasing, and they're great. They're great guys. So yeah, I'd definitely point them their way.
Perfect.
Awesome. That's awesome.
I learned a ton today, Dan.
Well, I'm good. I'm glad. Glad to hear
He
that.
doesn't
feel
want
like an expert
anybody
now. I
shooting
know.
his deer. Except for him.
You got to be on the in club. Maybe we might be.
You might be. You never know. You guys would have an open invite, of course.
Is there any other advice that you'd give someone just in general when they're looking for land? Is there specifics that they should, don't just buy a wooded lot, don't just buy open land, like as far as value, and is there something that people should steer clear from when they're
There's a big can of worms that you're getting ready to open up.
Because doesn't it depend on their
get the
goals?
can
Yeah. So the answer is it depends.
okay?
There's a lot of it depends. I
Talk
mean,
to Dan.
there's
Yeah.
in a 10-minute phone call we can kind of sort out what's going on, what you're really wanting. I mean, if your goal is to have tillable income and collect a cash rent, you're probably not going to buy a tract of timber.
Right.
That's not the right move. If you want to grow white oaks and walnuts, you're probably not getting, we're going to need to look for those. We're not going to find those in the middle of a cornfield. So I would say, figure out what you want to do, what it is that you can afford, and which direction you want to start moving in. And then we'll just have a quick call.
Conversation.
Yeah. and figure it out. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Sounds great.
thanks, guys. This was
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. We'll see you guys next week.
All right.